If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
Coming up on episode 405 of Wheel Bearings, got the Honda Passport, the Nissan Murano, the G-Wagon, the Toyota 4Runner, another kick at the Kia K4. Porsche's got a road-legal version of its 963 race car. Ram brings back the Hemi. Rare earth magnets could cause a serious disruption to the auto industry. Edmunds finally sells its Fisker Ocean. Best colors to reduce your car depreciation. Cadillac's got the new Optiq-V, and Nicole tells us what kind of pies she and her husband had last week. All that and more coming up next. This is episode 405 of Wheel Bearings. I am Sam Abu-Al-Samad from Telemetry.
And I am Nicole Wakeland from, I'll say Car Talk this week.
And I am Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
And Nicole, you're back from eating pie.
I'm back from eating pie. I know we had a weekend in San Diego. It was awesome.
And what kind of pies did you and Russ eat?
So
and just to be clear, I believe you went to the Julian Pie Company because you were in San Diego.
Yes, that was actually the reason I initially went with him. I'm like, I'll take you to Julian Pie if I can come with you. So we went out early because he had work on during the week, and then I had work during the week after I found it after the fact. So it all worked out pretty good. Yes, we went to Julian Pie Company, and we actually brought someone. You remember Rebecca Lindland? Mm-hmm. Rebecca came with us, so the three of us went to Julian Pie together, and we got amongst us a peach.
17
apple.
Pies.
We got slices. We got a peach, an apple, a mountain berry one, which is my favorite. Russ got, okay, if you guys have heard this, they put cheddar cheese in or on an apple pie.
Yeah.
Okay, he got that, which he loved. Rebecca had never heard of it before, and I'm like, no, we do that all the, I always just thought it was a thing, like one of the options.
It's like a Northeast thing, isn't it?
I think it's a Northeast thing, but she's from Connecticut. So
yeah, I know. That's why
I'm surprised. It's like right? Northeast and like middle America.
Yeah. Well. So she literally looked at gave it the stink eye, like they're insane. I'm like, we're not insane. But Russ loves that. So we got that. And there was one other one we got. I forget what it was. Apparently it didn't make enough of an impression, but I got my berry pie. So I'm happy. So yeah, we loved the pie. The pie was quite tasty. And we got a pie carrier. So you can buy little Julian Pie box size insulated carriers. And although we did not purchase an entire pie, I'm now going to bring this with me the next time I'm in San Diego. So if the drive does go by, I'm going to be prepared to take my pie all the way back home to New Hampshire. Yeah.
Because it is, kind of challenging, I think, in a standard cardboard pie box.
I did that once. And it was a cardboard box, and then you put plastic around it. Like they double plastic bagged it, but you're still just like hoot carrying your pie on a plane, which is a little bit weird.
I bought a whole pie. They just gave me a plastic bag, and it was on. It went all over the place with me. This pie. It was in 9 different vehicles at some point.
Wow.
It was during the Ioniq 5 drive, and then I don't know what the next drive was. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Monterey Car Week, was it?
Because I think Ioniq 5 was like late in it was like November or something.
Oh, I don't know. It was something else, and I took that pie all over the world.
Nice.
Did you still have any of it by the time you got home to share with your wife?
We ate all the pie. I don't think I made it home.
He had it in 9 cars. He took a bite in each car.
It was eaten I think at some point, at the last place, I had a bunch of people. I'm like, hey, let's all eat some pie, and they were like, yay, pie!
Tired of carrying this around. Let's just eat it.
Yeah, I've had enough. I don't want to carry it anymore.
Yeah.
Pie. Awesome. All right. Well, shall we get into what we were driving?
Yes.
Nicole.
So I'm just going to literally say I had it again, and it's unchanged. The Kia K4.
Tell me about it. Tell me everything.
For the third time in
So is this
3.5
kind of like a segmented
months.
long-term review?
Apparently, and like you asked me earlier, was it a least different color? No, I literally could have the exact same physical K4. I'm gonna start hiding like a little thing in it to see if I
Hide a
get it back
notebook in there like it is a
right?
long-termer.
Right, like if I get it again in a week and a half. So it's a great car, but I literally have nothing else to say about it. So I had it again. Ask me again in a month and a half, and I'll probably have it again. But what I also had, which was like I have not had this 3 times, was the 2025 Toyota 4Runner, which is all new. It's the 6th generation of the 4Runner. You can get it with either just a standard 2.4 liter turbo 4-cylinder, or you can get the iForce Max version, which is the turbocharged hybrid. I didn't have that one. I just had the regular one. That's a little sad. I'm like, I like the iForce Max. I just like that engine. I think it's really good. So I was disappointed that I didn't have it, but not disappointed in the one that I got. Like, it's fine. It's not that I didn't like it. I just like the other one better. So on mine, it's 278 more power. Yeah, and that's a big difference. So the standard engine 278, the iForce Max is 326. So that's a pretty big difference. And torque, the same thing. Standard is 317 versus 465. So you notice a big difference when you go from one engine to the other. Both have an 8-speed automatic. There are, according to my trying to figure it out, 9 trims of this thing. SR5, TRD Sport Premium, TRD Off-Road, TRD Off-Road Premium, Limited Platinum, TRD Pro, and Trail Hunter. That's ridiculous.
In Trail Hunter, there's a photo on the site where apparently it's running from a rock monster. Yeah,
I missed that. I'll have to.
In the photo, there's just a giant rock monster. I don't know if they're running from the rock monster or the rock monster's sad that his friend, the Toyota Trail Hunter, is driving away.
Because it is very blocky and would look rock monster-ish. Unless the rocks are round. Are they round rocks or square rocks?
They are just sort of misshapen-ish, just regular rocks.
I'm picturing, who's the guy? Is it Fantastic Four, the one that has the guy who's
the thing?
I'm picturing the thing in my head as you're saying a rock monster. So all square, which is kind of square and boxy is what this is. You can get it with 4-wheel drive. Some trims it's 4-wheel drive only. Other trims you have an option for rear-wheel drive. Pricing on this is crazy because there's 9 trims. So the SR5 2-wheel drive, $40,770. If you go all the way up to the Trail Hunter, it's $66,900. So there is a huge spread in pricing for this. I had, I guess I'd say slightly higher than the middle. I had the Limited with 4-wheel drive, which is a $57,400 car. You guys want to take a guess on destination?
Ooh, $1,400.
I was going to say that. I'm going to go $1,300.
Okay, Robbie wins $1,450.
Yeah,
because he was just quicker on the button. Otherwise, you could have. Yeah,
we need little buttons. Boop, boop,
like
boop.
so you actually bing, and whoever hits it first.
I should have gone with 1401.
1401.
But I was thinking it was 1395 or something. But
nope, it's 1450. So not crazy insane. I guess reasonable in this day and age for
by comparison to some of the full size vehicles. Yes,
exactly. So not that crazy. So I enjoyed driving this. I mean, this isn't, even without that more powerful engine, this is no slouch. It has plenty of power. It easily accelerates. It sounds good. It feels burly. One of the things I do not like on the Limited, because it whacked me in the shins, and this happens on all the cars, when they have the step that deploys as you walk up to the car, it deploys a half a second later than I need it to deploy. So I'm already starting to step up into the car, kind of, and it's deploying, and I'm not stepping wide. And I was like, ow, I hit my shin half a dozen times on the stupid thing. Great that it comes out for you to step on and then tucks away so it wouldn't get caught on anything, but if you're apparently a really fast walker, when you hop in the car, you whack your shins. Overall, I liked it. I mean, I have no real complaints about it. It's the 4Runner is not a delicate vehicle. It's an off-road rugged. It looks like that. Like when I was saying, it looks like, what is it? The thing. that blocky kind of styling to it, but it completely suits it. And I had this beautiful color. I didn't have a Monronian. I went to look up the color, and I think it's like a heritage. Shoot, I had it and I lost it. It's this really light blue color. It's pretty. It's funny because this isn't a pretty car. Like, it's kind of a rugged vehicle, and then you have this really pretty, like, makes me think of robin's egg blue is what I would call it. I'm sure Toyota called it something prettier. I'll have to look it up again because I apparently closed my screen from that tab.
Heritage blue.
It is heritage. Okay, thought it was heritage. I like the heritage blue.
You're right. It is very similar to like a robin's egg. Maybe
a robin's egg blue is what
darker,
I think of. Yeah, like a little bit darker. It side note, hides the pollen really nicely because I had that, and I had my Wagoneer S sitting in the driveway, which is like a dark, and it's like almost, I guess it's like a black. It's the pollen. Oh my gosh, it is so bad. But then I looked at the Toyota. I'm like, hey, kind of hides the pollen. That's kind of an unexpected benefit. Yeah. So I enjoy driving this. I think it's, if you want that ruggedness, it has that. It has the power. It has plenty of seating. It's comfortable. But it's, it's not like that refined ride and a refined interior. It is a little bit more rough and ready, but not in a way that's harsh. Like, if you wanted to road trip in this, you'll be just fine. Drove it back and forth to Boston a couple times. Totally cool. Drove it on some side roads here that are kind of a bumpy mess, and they were repaving in our neighborhood. So, when it's like you're off-roading on your road because there's all these patches in the pavement and parts of it are
good
dirt.
Week to have an off-roader.
Good week to have the 4Runner. And it did really well. It did really, really well. I thought, okay, this is comfortable. This is like rough, crummy pavement that in some cars that are off-road or some SUVs that are off-road focused would rattle your teeth. This one didn't. So I thought that was pretty good. So overall, I like this. And I think for the limited at that $57,000, it has a nice interior. You have heated seats and all that kind of good stuff. And it's comfy. I enjoyed it. I like the new 4Runner. I think they did a good job with it. It desperately needed the update that it got this year, and I think they did a darn fine job. So I am pro 4Runner.
It was a little stale in the old.
It was just a skosh stale. It was so I don't know if that's. I don't even know if it's fair to say like they did a good job updating it. Anything would have been. It was so slightly stale. It was so day old.
I think it did. The previous gen 4Runner had been going for about 15 years, I think.
Yeah,
is that how long that generation had been out?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why. So this feels drastically different because it was basically a 15-year-old car before with just little tweaks here and there.
If it ain't broke, that's the Toyota way. Which on one hand, I'm like, well, come on, guys. But on the other, I'm like, you know what? If people are still buying it, and people were still buying it.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing.
Still a very popular vehicle.
Yeah.
So, that was my experience in the 4Runner. I think anybody who was waiting for the new one is going to say, "Oh yeah, cool. This is what I wanted." They did it. They moved it forward, updated it, still kept its sort of roguish 4Runner charm. So I like it. I like the 4Runner.
Imagine like year 4 of the previous generation. You're like, I'm just on the way to the next one,
right?
And you're just like,
year 8,
11 years.
Wait for the next one. Year 12,
11 years later. Like you have a child and a new career.
Like, I don't think that's the car for me anymore. I moved on.
Well, and when they did the drive program for the 4Runner, was it like December or something? Late last year, I think.
Right? Yeah.
They one of the things I know is, they talked about the pricing, and I looked through the pricing, and that base SR5 rear wheel drive model.
Mm-hmm.
That one only went up by a few $100s. That's fine. The all of the other trims went up by a lot.
Yeah.
Like the TRD Pro, which is about the same. I think it's the same price as the Trail Hunter.
It is. They're both $66,900. Yep.
Yeah. That went up by I believe it was either $10,000 or $12,000.
Oof.
Compared to the 2024 model. I mean, they got a lot more expensive. Like things like the limited. Does it have
that much more content in it in those than it did in the old ones? I wonder. You know how not everything gets the same content upgrade. Different trims end up with more.
It does have the hybrid powertrain as standard, but that's for Toyota, that's maybe $1,000, $1,500
not
an extra
$10,000 of engine. Yeah.
It is a significantly better vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Because the old 4Runner had, an old V6 engine, I think with a 5-speed automatic transmission. It was kind of sluggish, to say the least. It got pretty lousy fuel economy. So
Mm-hmm.
it is significantly improved. But still, that's a lot of money. And the same thing happened with the Tacoma when they brought the new Tacoma last year. It was also substantially more expensive than the previous generation.
Yeah, it's a pretty big price increase. Do you think it's worth it?
Would
you buy those top trims, not like say the TRD off-road or a Sport?
I don't know that it necessarily is for the TRD Pro or the Trail Hunter, unless you actually really are going to be using them off-road in a serious way.
Yeah.
If you're going to use this, as a daily driver, and you're never you just want the look, but you're not actually going to take it off-road. If you get, one of those middle trims, like the TRD off-road, which has the look, it's substantially cheaper, or even the limited if you want a more luxurious version.
Yeah. Well, and there's the
I think that
TRD
works.
off-road premium too. There's the TRD off-road and the TRD off-road premium, which gives you TRD looks with a little bit more of a limited vibe inside, and that 54.9 as opposed to 66.9.
And the thing is, even those models, like the limited or the TRD off-road limited or premium, they don't actually feel very premium compared to a lot of others.
I think part of that is that, and I agree with you. And I think part of it is because this is such a off-road, rugged, rough and ready kind of vibe and sort of feeling that the 4Runner has. If you make it too pretty, if you make it too luxury, suddenly it breaks that sort of, I can go out there in the dirt, it just doesn't.
On trims like the limited, or the platinum, I don't think that's necessarily a problem, because I don't think the customers buying those, they're not taking them off road anyway. If you're buying a platinum or a limited, you're looking for something a little more luxury oriented. And
I would agree.
Still, hard plastics that feel kind of cheap inside. So at the the lower to mid trim levels, that's more acceptable, especially at those price points. But as you get up in the price points, and for the Trail Hunter, for the TRD Pro, you're also getting a lot of other hardware. So you're trading off, the higher price, you're trading off, fancy shocks and all the skid plates and, locking differentials and all that stuff, the serious off-road stuff. So, that's fine. Although, again, those compared to competition, like a Bronco or a Wrangler, they're on the high end.
Yeah.
I feel like people would just be happy with a TRD Sport or Sport Premium, and then
they'll be content. Yeah,
the average person, just that's what they need. They don't need off-roading. They don't need all this fancy bits.
Yeah, they don't. No. Most people are not going to use all that.
Yeah.
Or the TRD off-road, $49,000, and that gets you, if you're going to do some modest off-roading, that's probably all you really need.
Yeah.
You want the best for your child. K-12 can help them gain the skills they need to reach their full potential while giving you the support you need to get them there. K-12-powered schools are tuition-free, accredited online public schools for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Their state-certified teachers make online learning interactive and engaging, allowing your child to learn at their pace from the safety of home. Join the more than 3 million families who have chosen K-12. Go to k12.com/podcast today to learn more. That's k12.com/podcast.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. All right, cool. Robbie?
I drove an off-roader.
Did you actually take it off-road?
I took it on some dirt roads, not really like off-road. It's like an hour and a half to get to an off-road park from my house. Apparently, people complain about the taxes for gasoline in California. The problem with those taxes is that everything is paved. That like we're paying for like nice paved roads is what we're paying for with those taxes on gasoline. And so you're like, oh, I'll just go down this has to be nope, paved. Nope, it's paved. Oh, this one's been paved recently. Which is great when you're paying for stuff and then stuff happens there. But it makes it a little bit more difficult to find like any sort of off roads, some dirt roads or anything. I did find a little bit. It wasn't really like substantial. But I did find areas where I could do the G-turn. So that was very exciting and fun. The G-turn, by the way, digs a hole into the ground where you can't do the G-turn there if you move again, because it just keeps putting deeper and deeper ruts.
So if you wanted to drill a hole down to the core of the planet.
Yeah, the core of the planet.
Down to the core. All the way down to the core. Just keep going and going and going.
That said, I have been on trails before where you get to a point where you're like, oh, there's a lock gate here. Or, oh, there's a down tree. And like, what am I going to, I guess I'll just turn around. And you have to do that 12-point turn, that really tight trail. You're like, and the G-turn would allow you to sort of spin around and then drive back the way you came. That said, there are some safety settings on there. And the biggest one really is that it has to be essentially on level ground. You can't be on an incline in order to do the G-turn. Because I was trying to do it in an area and it was kind of like on an incline. I'm like, wait, well, I want it. I'm like, oh, because what'll happen is you spin and you just spin down the hill.
This is why, like when Rivian first showed the R1T
with their tank turn,
and they were showing it doing the tank turn, and then when it got to production, they did not include that feature for that very reason, because they realized, oh, this is really cool when you're on flat ground, but if you're actually on a trail, not always so helpful.
I talked to the CEO over there about that. He's like, it was just a thing we put online. We thought it was cool, and now, oh man, it's just like, look at this cool thing. Oh, now you want it? That's not a good.
Shouldn't tease stuff that you can't build.
Yeah. I mean, they could build it. It's just and that sort of flat ground thing. I'm like, oh, so I just kept moving forward and back until I found. So if I got to a point, I would just back up until I got to where the ground was relatively flat, did the turn and drove away. That's fine. It's a nice addition. It's readily available. It's very confusing when it says, okay, now grab the gear shifter, which the gear shifter is not the gear shifter in in that vehicle. It is the recuperative braking paddles. So it's telling you to grab one of the paddles, left paddle, go spin left, right paddle, spin right. But the instructions say gear shifter, because in the gas version of the vehicle, it's the gear shift. Yeah, you can manually shift the gears. So that's sort of weird that sort of just got past everybody. Or they were like, well, no one's gonna know it's recuperative braking paddles. I don't know what it's. I don't know how they made the decision to keep it as the gear shifter, because I was just like, wait, the gear, what do you mean? Like I shifted up or down, like reverse and park? Like, what are you talking about? So it took a few minutes for me to figure that out. So that wasn't a great sign, because, someone's like slamming it into reverse, slamming it into drive, trying to get it to do the G-turn. Then you just go online and figure it out. And then someone just says, oh, you just do this and you spin around. That's it. I still really
that's it.
I still really like the vehicle. The version I had a according to the EPA, had a range of 239 miles. This is from a 116 kilowatt hour battery pack, which, considering the fact that it is a big brick, it's just a big blocky brick with another brick shoved on top. So it has zero aerodynamics.
None whatsoever.
That seems about right. I ran out of time. I wasn't able to do
arguably less than none, because you in classic G-Wagon form, You've got those turn signal indicators that are sitting on top of the
Yeah,
front
they sit on
fenders.
top, which is cool because you can see
Yeah.
your turn signals when you're blinking. It's not really that big of a vehicle when you consider. What are you? Sorry, my cat's yelling at me.
No, what are you doing to your poor cat? They're
He's
torturing.
he's yelling at the dog. So Roy is yelling at Bowie about something. I guess Bowie's too close to the guitar stand that Roy is rubbing himself on.
Oh, how dare him!
I don't know what's anyway. Uh, sorry for that. I'm just like, what is happening behind
Cat's
me?
losing his mind back
Cat
there.
is losing his goddamn mind. He's like, you never took me in the G-Wagon, you jerk. What were we talking about? Oh, it's not as big as you. It's actually quite small compared to like other larger, SUVs that are out there in the world. And the hood isn't quite as long as other vehicles, so you can actually see in front of you. So that's really cool. And then you can see the blinkers. That's fun. Those little blinkers that stick up and destroy any sort of aerodynamics you may have accomplished. So yeah, it's just creating.
Well, they're also useful when you are actually off-roading because
you can use them
where
as
the
guides.
corners are.
Yeah, use them as guides. It's all very. The car is all very smart as an off-roader. Other than the fact that no one ever takes them off-road. And that's the weird, like I found a trail with like a bunch of plants and on either side. I took some pictures and I shot video there. And while I was backing up, I was a little bit off the trail. I was just like scratching it up with the plants. So I'm like, oh well, it's a G-Wagon. I mean, this is what it's made for. It's made for this. Like the interior, like the ground had like plants and dirt in it. And when they picked it, it was dirty. I had to go and like wash it really quick for some stand-ups, and all I did was I just hosed it down really quick, went and shot my stand-ups before it dried, and then when they came and picked it up, it was all like spotty and dirty, and I'm like, hey, you guys gotta go watch the G-Wagon. But it had like 90% charge because I charged it at home.
Okay, so you did your job.
I did my job. It was good. That's it. No, there's a lot of room. It can be a little weird to get into if you're a passenger and you're not tall, because there's the handle that's where the dash and on the dash, and then there's the shit handle that everyone has, but there's nothing like on the A pillar to kind of help you pull in. So it can be a little awkward getting in if you're a little short. You gotta I gotta grab this thing, and it's a weird sort of motion. If you're tall, me, I couldn't sit behind me if I was going somewhere. The fact that it's a big square means there's a lot of room for storing things, even though doesn't have a huge, cargo area. It's just it's very tall. So it's for, so you can get more things.
It's perfectly optimized for storing stuff in.
Yes. It's like the perfect Tetris machine. You just like ding, 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 just putting your boxes and whatnot in there. I was able to get the setup for 2 guitarists, a singer, and like a bunch of props for a show in there for a gig we had while I had the vehicle. So it's great for gigging. I could have put a lot more if I just kept stacking up to the sky. What else? It has, again, it's not that efficient. That said, it's a G-Wagon. Like no one's buying it for that. According to EPA, has this like 62 MPGE. I hate MPGE. I don't know why we talk about it. So I won't. I think it's MPGE is
because they needed to calculate corporate average fuel economy.
It's ridiculous.
It's a weird number.
It's a very weird like algebra problem that no one asked for. It's a 400 volt architecture, so that's kind of a bummer, but that's because they didn't have the 800 volt available. But it still charges up to 200 kilowatts. A DC fast charger. The one that I got had the CCS to NACS. NACS to CCS adapter. So if I'd want to go into a Tesla supercharger, I could have done that. It was an Electron charger. It wasn't a Mercedes branded one. So that's kind of cool that they trust that company. They've been making good stuff. There shouldn't be any real reason why they wouldn't trust them. Again, I really love the Rubellite red metallic color that they
Rubellite.
Rubellite. It's cool. It's got 4 motors. So it's true for real true torque vectoring for
Ooh,
for
kind of
for
like
wheels.
it's not like it's like a burgundy almost. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
just
yeah,
Googled. I'm
Like a
like,
dark
ooh,
red.
yeah. It's like a dark.
rubelite.
Yeah, it's really pretty,
That
and
kind of
it's
sounds like
free.
the name of the thing that, like, in the sci-fi show, we must get the rubelite. like the
Remember the Rubelite Wars?
the
We lost
rubelite
a
wars. We've never recovered. Sorry. Okay, go
we
ahead.
lost a
Side
lot of
note.
Glonzos during the Rubelite Wars.
Exactly, the
Like, wow,
Glonzos.
oh no, not the Glonzos. No. Yeah. All-wheel drive. Obviously, it's a all-wheel. You know, all-wheel motors. Yeah. No. I really enjoyed this vehicle. I mean, not, but also I am not the target audience because I don't have $161,500, which is the suggested retail price for the EQ version of this vehicle. I think the gas version is about 150 something. The AMG gas version is like 170 something, with all little bits added to it, including the $1,600 black panel radiator grill, which was okay, sure. And the $8,000 manufacturer interior plus, which I would definitely not get because I would probably put my dogs in this. It came out to a grand total of $178,450.
Oof.
Which is, let me count it, double what my dad paid for his house.
Oh my God.
It's very, very expensive. The folks who buy this are, rich. I talk about it. It's for the rich and famous. Celebrities love it. Rich people love it. It is a very capable off-roader. I would be super stoked if Mercedes made one without fancy bits for like 50,000, but there's no way they're ever going to do that. Like, why would you do that?
I mean, given even with the relatively short range, given the fact that most of these are probably going to be bought, assuming they're bought at all, by residents of places like Brentwood,
this is an LA car
to commute down to the shops on Rodeo Drive, which is like a few miles. The range probably isn't an issue.
The range, I would 90. The range is not an issue at all to anyone who's going to buy this car, to be honest, because if I'm in LA, I see a lot of these. If I'm in like a very fancy part of the Bay Area, I see some. I rarely see them on Interstate 5. Like going up and down the state, just kind of like going on road trip. Those people don't road trip. Those people get in their planes.
I was just gonna say
they're flying first class. They have a Turo with a G-Wagon that picks them up or whatever. Yeah, these no one's really road tripping in the in a G-Wagon. I'm sure there are people. There's always the edge case. Someone always tells me that they I drive 200 miles each way to work for as my commute, so EV won't work for me. I'm like, well, your life just sounds horrible. I apologize for that. No car should really be your thing, but okay.
If you're commuting that far each way, you're probably working a dead end job that doesn't pay nearly enough to afford a G-Wagon anyway.
Right, you're not buying this car to begin with. Sorry.
You're making a ton of money, but not enough. Like, you're making a ton of money for the city that you live in that's 2 hours away that doesn't have like water or electricity. Let's see. So what do you think is the destination cost for this vehicle?
I'm gonna go with $1,195.
I was gonna say I'm gonna go with $1,195. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go $1,495.
$1,150.
Gosh dang it! Wow,
$45 off.
I thought it would be more.
These expensive vehicles, manufacturers don't try to hide the price increases in a destination charge that you can't avoid. They just put it right on the MSRP. This is why this thing costs $178,000.
Yeah,
$178,000. Raise the price. We're just going to stick it right on there. We're not going to try and hide it from you. It's right out there in the open.
$8,000 for the interior plus. I don't remember anything about the interior that felt like the $8,000. I mean, it was nice, but it didn't feel like $8,000 nice.
Did not? Okay.
No. And what's funny is that this is the first G-Wagon I've driven ever. I kept telling Mercedes, I haven't driven a G-Wagon, and they kept saying, we'll get you one, and then I would just never follow up.
Just let it go.
So-
it was more like an experience, like, hey, I need to drive the G-Wagon. So eventually when the electric one, and I just never followed up. So this is, but I have gotten the CEO of Mercedes-AMG to admit that this is the best off-road G-Wagon of all the G-Wagons, the electric one. And she's like, why is this one the best one? He's like, I want to correct you, but you are not wrong. So it'll fjord. It'll go to Scandinavia and
Sorry.
it'll ford through water
Fjord.
6 inches deeper than the gas version. That's how much better it is. It'll spin in a circle. It's got true torque vector, and you don't have to lock the differentials and hope for hold on, put it in neutral, put it in low. It has a low gear, which is cool, so you can put it in low, but you don't have to like put it in low and then like first, okay, now we put it in neutral, put it in low. Now let me lock the differentials. Clank, clank. Okay, now you put it in drive. No, just put it in low and just drive over things.
So I'm looking at the picture of the interior. On the center console, there's this like kind of platform thing. It looks like a little bit of a platform. I'm just trying to figure out what it is we're looking at here.
Okay, hold on. I don't have it.
Oh no, yes.
Like where the shifter would normally be.
You mean because they use the stock. So we're are you talking about the Mercedes-Benz, the little flat
Yeah, is that like the infotainment controller?
Yeah, they still have it in this car.
Okay.
Like they sort of pull it out of cars. It's still there. So if you're a fan of their little that little controller, that little touchpad, it's still there. You can still use it in the G-Wagon. So it does have like the zero that new infotainment system where everything just sort of disappears for a few
zero
widgets.
layer.
Yeah, the zero layer. So it has that, but it still has the little touchpad, which is kind of cool because I know they're pulling that out. And then the access to the right there in the middle of the dash below the display is the off-road stuff. So you can put it in low, you can put it in you can do the fun G turn as they call it. So yeah, you can just like you hit the button and it puts it into off-road mode. This whole section will be dusty about 2 weeks after the person who buys it uses because they'll never ever use it.
They're just going to leave it in two-wheel drive, for the commute down to the shops.
Never change it.
They might. I'm assuming they'll like do what people do with like ludicrous drive is they'll do it like once or twice and then that'll be the end of it.
Show it off to some friends.
They'll have to find like a dirt place to do it, and then I mean the car doesn't ship with off-road tires. It's just like I was looking at the tires. I'm like, these are not even close to like anything that's really something you should. And that makes complete sense. So like, why would you put off-road tires on this if you're selling it to people who are just taking it to the Gucci store? Is that a thing?
Sure, the Gucci store.
I shot video with this, and then I had to like off the cuff think of like really rich stores, and I'm like, Gucci store?
It's like, where would people go who own one of these?
What do rich people do? They go to their special.
I feel like Gucci is there.
They have to have a store, maybe.
Yeah, that's pretty expensive.
We should move on to the next thing while I look up Gucci store.
It's expensive.
Gucci
they do have stores.
There it goes. Gucci, yes, there's one in San Francisco apparently.
There you go.
There we go. Oh, it's at the airport. Oh, it's one of those airport stores. Okay. You know the stores at the airport where apparently when you're going on a trip, you decide you want to buy a $400 handbag.
Has anybody ever done that? I mean, they're everywhere. But I'm like, I've never had the impulse like, oh, I got a little long layover. I'm going to spend
I see people in those stores.
I've never seen anyone buy anything.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just like I'm bored. I'm going to walk into they have the Hugo Boss store. Like, oh, maybe you know what? I'm going to get fitted for a suit, and then when I get back, it'll be ready. Maybe
fitted for a suit.
I mean, back in the day, I think duty free shops were a lot more common. A lot more people, if you're traveling internationally, people would use the duty free shops, to get cheap liquor. Or at least what they perceived as cheap liquor,
right?
Or cheap cigarettes, mostly cheap cigarettes, I think.
Yeah, probably
cigarettes.
more.
You still see people they when they bring the little plastic bags, they're cigarettes. That's still a big one.
All right.
Smokes.
The
Anyway, that's a
smokes.
G-Wagon. It's awesome. If you're rich, you should buy one. If you're not, I don't know. You can just hang out with me at the Slate store, I guess.
Yeah.
Me and my $20,000. I'm just gonna put a G-Wagon like logo on it. There you go. That's my G-Wagon.
All right. Well, I had two mid-sized crossovers last week. One was a late add to the schedule because I was attending the Detroit Grand Prix along with Honda, and so for those of us that were going, they sent out Honda vehicles for us to drive down to the race downtown. So I got the Honda Passport Trailsport. Just the standard Trailsport, not the Trailsport Elite or anything else, which is fine. We were, I think you were there. Yeah, you were there, Nicole, in the spring when we went to Puerto Rico to drive this thing, and we actually did some real off road driving with it.
Yeah.
On some pretty gnarly trails. So I didn't bother doing any. At least what would technically be called off-road driving, although technically driving around Detroit can often be considered about as challenging as many off-road courses.
That's
so
true.
True. Yeah.
Like last year when I went down to the race, I was driving the Nissan Z Nismo, and if you remember my review of that one, I complained quite vociferously about the absolutely atrocious ride quality of that car. Because it's really stiffly sprung and underdamped, and driving around on some of those roads was it was a very unpleasant experience. Fortunately, the Passport Trailsport, that was not the case, because the Passport Trailsport has it's design. It is the most off-road capable vehicle that Honda's ever built. Like for the regular passenger vehicle line, not including things like their side-by-sides and quads and things like that, but for the regular vehicle lines, the Trailsport, the Passport Trailsport is definitely the most off-road capable, and it's actually pretty good off-road. And on road, if you live somewhere like Southeast Michigan where the road quality is somewhat terrible, to say the least.
Somewhat horrific.
Yeah.
You had used all those like fancy thesaurus words at the beginning of this, and now you're like, it's the roads suck.
The roads just suck. So the Trailsport has 18-inch alloy wheels and I think General Grabber all-terrain tires, that have some significant amount of sidewall. So when you hit those potholes or frost heaves and things like that, it's not immediately going to cause them to blow out. It's actually quite nice to drive. I had no issues with it at all driving it on road. And you can tell that it is a true off-roader because it has bright orange recovery hooks on the front bumper.
Okay, there you go. That's important.
Yeah, and unlike the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek that I had a few weeks ago, these are actual physical recovery hooks. It's not just an orange hook-shaped accent painted on the front bumper. These are actual. You can actually hook something up to these, if you were to get it stuck somewhere, or more likely, you could use it to retrieve one of your friends that has a Nissan Rogue Rock Creek and get stuck somewhere. Although you'd have to find something to hook it onto on the Rogue. But you can do stuff like that with this. It's got the 3.5 liter V6. It's a newer version of Honda's V6 that has dual overhead cams. It's got about the same amount of power as before. It's a little more efficient. I think it's got slightly more torque than before. The interior is actually surprisingly roomy, especially the back seat, and there's a lot of cargo space in this thing. So you've got lots of room for your gear, if you're going to go camping or something like that. It's got the Trailsport has roof racks as standard equipment. It's all very, it's designed, for an adventure lifestyle, which is a good thing. Nothing wrong with that. So and it has a 10-speed automatic transmission, no CVTs in this. It's got Honda's iVTM4, which is basically the Acura super handling all-wheel drive hardware, but with a completely different software package. So it emulates the behavior of a locking rear differential, which again helps off-road. Or if you're in a winter storm, things like that, it'll definitely help out there as well. So it's got lots of room. It's comfortable to drive. It's not so ridiculously tall that you need a lot of help to get in. So it's good for that sort of thing. I quite liked it.
It's the working person's G-Wagon.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, it does probably not everything a G-Wagon will do, but let's put it this way. It's capable of more than most G-Wagons will ever actually experience. The G-Wagon, in theory,
everything.
Could do a lot more.
33-degree incline.
Yeah.
They could drive up a 30. That's insane. But the 33,
but no G-Wagon owner will ever actually do that, except for maybe Roman Micah.
Yeah,
possibly.
Roman,
yes.
That's the thing is I think Roman, he bought his Defender. He's like third owner.
Yeah.
It's like second and third owners. Those are the folks who do the fun things with these cars. First owner babies it. They rub it with a diaper every week, or they have somebody who does that for them. Assuming I don't think anyone who buys a G-Wagon actually does any sort of maintenance on it themselves.
Yeah. So this is for this will do what third or fourth owners of a G-Wagon will do, but for a first owner. So as I said, the one I had was the basic Trailsport, and they also have the RTL trim, and then you got Trailsport Elite that adds some other stuff, but all the good stuff that you actually need to do stuff with is built on this Trailsport. The rest of the stuff you get on the Elite is just some more more luxury oriented things like that, but you don't actually need those. And this one all in was $50,355. Guesses on the destination charge?
Ooh,
I'm gonna say $1,295.
I was gonna say $1,300. I'm gonna say $1,300.
Robbie gets it. It was actually $1,450, exactly the same as
I'm the biggest loser this week.
4Runner.
I found a G-Wagon for $44,000.
Woohoo!
How many miles?
40. It's got 87,000 miles.
Wow.
For a 2005. 42,000. It's 42,000. It's the AMG Sport too. I don't really need the AMG. I feel like that's probably that poor thing's been rough, been kicked a lot. That poor motor's been.
And like other new Hondas, this does have the Google built-in Android Automotive infotainment system, which worked fine. And it's still got support for CarPlay and Android Auto as well, so you can just hook up your phone if you want to do that. There's a wireless charging pad and all that stuff in here as well. So that's the Passport Trailsport, driven off-road on Detroit roads. The other one that I had at the same time was the Nissan Murano, the 2025 Nissan Murano. And so the Murano got a full visual redesign for this year. I don't know if we talked about this when we talked about the launch of the Murano last fall, but originally Nissan's original plan was that the vehicle that we now know as the Ariya, their EV, their crossover EV, that was actually supposed to be the new Murano. It was supposed to replace the Murano. And then somewhere along the line, they changed their mind, decided, no, we're going to keep the Murano and we're going to give this EV a different name. And so they called it the Ariya. And that, of course, meant that they still needed to have a gas-engined vehicle in mid-size crossover in this segment, or at least they felt they did. And so they revamped the Murano. It's still on the same basic platform it was on before, but a lot of stuff has changed. The bodywork is all completely new. The interior is all new. the powertrain is all new. So instead of the VQ V6 that was on here before, with the CVT that was in the previous generation Murano, it now has the 2-liter variable compression turbo 4-cylinder that Nissan and Infiniti put on a whole bunch of their vehicles now. So it's 241 horsepower, 280 or 260 foot-pounds of torque, which, given the added complexity of the variable compression system, it doesn't actually provide a whole lot of benefit in terms of either additional performance or additional fuel economy. It was supposed to provide more fuel economy than the V6, and it does. It's like a couple of miles per gallon more than the old V6. But compared to just a regular 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder from any number of companies, including Ford and Hyundai and General Motors and pretty much everybody else, or Jeep, for example, those are typically, for a 2-liter turbo, you're typically getting anywhere from 250 to 275, in some cases even 290 horsepower from those 2-liter turbos, and significantly more torque than the 260 that you're getting out of this. In most cases, you're getting close to 300 foot-pounds of torque or more. So this has never been a terribly impressive engine, and it gets 23 miles per gallon combined on the EPA cycle, which, and I think I averaged about 21 with this thing, 21 or 22. So it's not hugely fuel efficient. It's not hugely performant. It does have a 9-speed automatic transmission, which is a significant improvement over the CVT that was in the old Murano. The design is fine. It's not particularly groundbreaking. It's got some elements of the Aria in it. There's nothing about it that is going to, really be terribly offensive to most people. You're going to look at it and say, oh yeah, it's fine. It's not something that this is horrible. It's good. I like the design. It's attractive enough. Although I would have preferred it if it was in some color other than the white that they sent me. The interior, on the one that I had was it was this, I forget, what the hell do they call this again? It's this blue. It's a combination of blue and dark gray, sort of a teal blue leather, which is actually quite attractive. They call it twilight blue semi-aniline leather, and I think it's a nice color combination. And they actually have an exterior color that is quite similar to this. They have this blue that is quite similar to the interior, but mine just had the boring old white. Which
wait, white interior? No. I'm sorry. It's just always you
like white.
The thing the two things I did not appreciate about the interior. One, it's like, okay, Nissan, we know you bought a huge stockpile of piano black plastic at some point in the past. Have you not run through that stockpile yet? Can you please?
Who was the salesperson for piano black? This was the greatest salesperson on the planet.
Pretty much.
Every automaker for years is like, what people want? Something that when you touch it, you can't easily remove fingerprints from.
And it shows every speck of dust in the air. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is what people want.
If you leave your windows cracked open on a spring morning,
forget it.
You get all the pollen in there.
You want to be able to see it on the inside and the outside of your car, both. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's that, the piano black plastic, which, please, Nissan,
stop.
Get over it. The other thing is, like the Aria, it's got this haptic touch control panel underneath the center vents and the middle of the dashboard for your climate controls. So the climate controls are not in the touchscreen, but it's still a touch interface that when you turn the car off, it looks just like, you just see kind of the wood trim there. And then once you start the car, it lights up from behind and you see your temperature arrows up and down and your defrost for front and rear and things like that, and the fan speed. And when you press it, you get some haptic feedback, but you have to look at it. You can't do it simply by feel, unless you want to just randomly tap around on that panel and hope for the best. The vents themselves are manually operated, which is good. And again, Nissan has adopted Android Automotive with Google services built in. So you got Google Maps and Assistant and all that. And it still has Android Auto and CarPlay support as well. But one of the things with these Android Automotive systems is, the manufacturers get, they're using the base operating system. They get the Google services, but they create their own user interface for it. So they put their own skins on it, which generally is not a problem. I mean, they all work roughly the same way. So I don't have an issue with that. But I did notice a really weird anomaly that I hadn't noticed before when I was driving, I think, the Rogue that had the same system in there. And that is, usually when I get into one of these cars, I log into my Google account, I download Pocket Casts, because that's what I use to listen to podcasts with. And then I log into my Pocket Casts account, and it downloads all my podcasts, and it syncs it with my phone. So when I go from my phone to the car or back again, it picks up in the same place. The interface that Nissan has put together for Pocket Casts on their system does not include the login page, the account login page. So as the best of my knowledge, I have not been able to find any way to log into my Pocket Casts account from a Nissan vehicle. I have another one in the driveway right now. It's exactly the same.
So you just have to find the thing you're listening to and then just scrub till you get to where you were listening to it everywhere else in the world.
Yeah. So whatever your list
or you use Bluetooth and just send it over, but then you can't
there's that, or use, CarPlay or Android Auto.
Yeah.
Which is what I ended up doing. It's like, okay, fine. I'll just do it, play it through Android Auto instead of using the built-in version of Pocket Casts in the car, which really I found extremely annoying. Come on, Nissan, get with the program. I'll have to have a chat with them about that. Complain vociferously about that. But overall, the Murano, again, it's quite pleasant to drive. It's not a sports sedan or anything, or a sports car, but it could use a little more power. For its size and its weight, it doesn't feel particularly powerful because 200, only the 240 horsepower. This, like I said, this variable compression engine is just kind of unimpressive, given all of the added mechanical complexity they put into it. It doesn't seem to deliver much. Just go with a regular 4-cylinder 2-liter turbo and be done with it. But other than that, the ride quality was decent, especially considering this thing was a platinum. It's on 21-inch wheels with relatively skinny tires, especially compared to the Passport that I was driving at the same time. But the ride quality was decent. It's roomy enough. It's got plenty of room in the back seat for a couple of adults, decent amount of cargo space in the back. And the grand total on the one that I drove came to $54,525, which
is rather
seems like a lot.
There's I heard that the 4Runner
did you
starts for less, and I can get a used G-Wagon from 2005 for 42.
Wow. A little steep.
Yeah, well, the Murano SV trim does start at $40,470, so it's about the same price as the 4Runner. It's just the Platinum is $54,000. You want to guess at the destination?
You go first, Robbie. You're going to get it.
14.
I'm going to go $1,295.
$1,390.
See?
You should have gone $1,399.
Yeah.
So close yet so far.
If you were going to go under, Robbie, you should have gone under by $1.
My $1. You gotta screw me over to win.
All right. So that is the Murano and the Passport. All right. Let's talk Ram.
Ram.
Tim Kuniskis is now truly officially back at the helm of Ram.
The angriest man in automotive.
Officially. Mhm.
Yeah. After barely a year since they launched the revamped Ram pickups, Ram 1500 pickups without a Hemi, the Hemi's back, and that was the big news from Ram this week. They brought
Okay.
I
back
think
the
everyone's
5.7
pretty
liter
excited
Hemi.
about this. This is exciting news.
Yeah, because you can pay more to get an engine with less power, less torque, and worse fuel economy.
Woohoo!
Finally.
But it does sound cool like a V8.
But it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I guess. It seems like
I guess.
It won't-
Robbie's like, I guess
It won't
so.
tow as much. It'll use more gas while it's doing it.
it's fundamentally a worse engine that sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is why they discontinued it in the first place, because it's a fundamentally worse engine than the
And
3-liter
yet.
Hurricane. And
You're
yet
getting
it's back.
less.
Yeah.
You're getting less. But Dodge
you know,
couldn't figure
if-
Dodge
if
couldn't
you're-
figure out how to like pipe in like better noise through the speakers.
if you're if you are trying to run the business and trying to crank up profits, what better way to do it than take an engine that costs you less to build, that some consumers at least want, and they're willing to pay extra for it, even though it's not as good as what you're already offering. Fine, that's what you want, we'll give that to you.
Yeah.
Like,
Here's
here
the
you
bad
go.
part.
Yeah.
Here's the bad thing. Enjoy. Yay.
It's not that the Hemi is a bad thing, it's just
Worst thing.
not as good.
It's not as good as the other thing that we have.
Not bad, just
We-
not the best.
We make
Yeah.
a better thing, and we're too lazy to tune it so it sounds like the Hemi.
395 horsepower, 410 foot-pounds of torque. And one of the things they talked about when they were doing the presentation was, in order to when Tim came back in early December last year, the first thing he did was ask the engineering team, okay, what's it going to take to bring back the Hemi, and how long is it going to take? And his engineering team apparently said 18 months to do it. And so he went to the guy who's the forget his name now, Daryl Smith. He was the former chief engineer for SRT, and said, okay, how long is it going to take you to put a Hemi back in this thing? And the main thing is, because the frame and everything hasn't changed, the structure, it hasn't changed. Actually, physically installing it in the truck was not the issue. It's, when they for the 2025 Rams, they put a new electrical architecture in there. And so they had to make a bunch of changes to accommodate that. And said, can do that in 6 months. And that's what they've done. They did it in 6 months.
Poof.
And
Where are they building these things?
the engines,
Yes. So they
the engines are built in Saltillo, Mexico, where
everyone's like, all right, everyone go home. We're probably going to bring this back later. And then one day just turn it on like a dusty, like you just walk into a dark, like assembly line and flick a switch and boom, the Hemi's tooling, the whole factory's ready to roll.
They never actually stopped building V8 engines, because they still had the V8s, the larger 6.4 liter in the heavy duty trucks. And they apparently have still been building, as we talked about last week, they've still been building Hellcats for the Durango. They never stopped.
Yeah, we forgot all about the fact that the 1 year the 5 years of the 1 year Hellcat. Durango.
The 5 years, the 1 year Hellcat.
Yeah, because when they launched it, we talked about this last week, Nicole, while you were gone eating pie. When they launched the Durango Hellcat, they said it's a 1 year only option. And now it's back for its 5th consecutive year.
5 years later. 5 years later. 1 year, 5 year. Meh.
So they figured out how to replace the connectors on the engine wiring harness so they could hook it all up and get everything working. They kept the same e-torque system, the 48 volt mild hybrid e-torque system that was on there before, so they wouldn't have to recertify the engine, so the engine itself is exactly the same as it was in the 2024 models. none of that had to be recertified, so it saved them money and time. Otherwise, if they got rid of stuff like that, then it would have taken a lot longer and cost them more. So they kept it simple, So, in the story I wrote for the Utopian, it's like I referenced, for those of us that are old enough to remember Dallas, the dream, they basically retconned an entire season of Dallas where one of the main characters died. And
was it Dallas or Knots Landing?
No, it was Dallas.
Okay.
Although I actually mistook it for a different storyline, the Who Shot JR storyline. I thought that was a retcon.
That was the That
it was actually Patrick Duffy's character.
He was in the shower the whole time.
Yeah, spent a whole year in the shower. He came out all wrinkly, but
it was all a dream.
Yeah, it was just a dream.
Just a dream.
And so, Ram has awoken from the dream. The Hemi's back. You can order it now on every trim except for the RHO and the Tungsten. Those are the only two that you can't get the Hemi in for now. They kind of hinted at maybe we might do a V8 RHO at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring the TRX back sometime in the next 12 months because Tim, he's not going to want to let Ford want to. He's not going to want to let Ford have all the attention with the Raptor R. So they'll bring back the TRX probably, and you can. It's the same. The Hemi is the same price as the high output Hurricane, even though it's 145 horsepower less. But it's the same price as the high output Hurricane. So there you go.
What was Tim doing for a year? Do we know?
He wasn't even gone that long. He was gone for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And from conversations that I had with Bob Broderdorf, I think, at the Wagoneer S launch, or maybe
no, it wasn't Bob yet. Was it Bob?
No, it was Bob. Bob was
at the launch. It was, yes.
Yeah, Bob was telling the story. He said that the entire time that Tim was technically retired, he was basically calling him every day to check in on and keeping tabs on what was going on.
Of course he was.
He was retired and not working, but he was there were no surprises when he walked back in the door.
They're like, oh, okay. So, well, we won't be getting the calls anymore, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Now we can see him coming.
All right. Let's move on. So Porsche, they have a racing car called the 963 that runs in the Le Mans hypercar class in the World Endurance Championship and a GTP and IMSA. Won both championships last year with Roger Penske's team. So they built a road-going version of this car for Mr. Penske.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, they did the same thing 50 years ago with the 917, and now they've built a road legal in some places version of the 963.
Just put some mirrors on it, slap a license plate on there. Done.
Yeah, I mean they raised the ride height to its maximum because race car has to occasionally go up driveway ramps and things like that. And they put some nice leather on the seats. And they also on the race cars, there's completely open vents above the wheels in the fenders to relieve the pressure there, so that they don't do what some race cars have done in the past, where they just kind of take off. But they partially covered those, so it doesn't throw quite as many stones on the windshield. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it is basically the race car.
But they have also added a nice detail, as the story says, a removable 3D printed cup holder.
Oh, yes.
That reliably holds a Porsche thermos. I just double check. I'm like, is that a cup holder stuck in there? Sure enough is.
Yeah, it's just bolted on there. That's what I was looking at, the cup holder photo. Because you look at the steering wheel.
It's like level with the steering wheel in this image. It's like you just ran a really long straw. You wouldn't need to take your hands from the wheel.
That's a crazy straw, maybe.
Well, in the race cars, they have a water bottle in there, a liquids bottle, and then they actually run a hose into the driver's helmet. So because these things, drivers are in there for 2-3 hours at a stretch during an endurance race, and it gets rather toasty in here. And so they but because this is for road car, for a quote unquote road car, they put just a regular cup holder in there.
I still like the idea of a crazy straw.
Yeah. And also, again, because this is basically the race car, you actually need a laptop to start the engine.
Can they just put like a Raspberry Pi in there? And
we could make the fancy cup holder, but we couldn't figure out a way to start the engine without a laptop.
Yeah, well, because what they do is on these race cars, the tolerances on these engines are so tight that the starting process, they hook up a line to the cooling system that pumps hot coolant into the engine before they crank it up. So they warm up the engine manually before they fire it. And so there's a whole sequence of things that they have to do before they actually start the engine.
I feel like they could have just made like a throw a Raspberry Pi in there, you push the button, the Raspberry Pi just goes through the sequences and then it starts up after I don't know 5 minutes or whatever.
But you will look fancy when you pull out your laptop. Like, give me a minute, I got to start my car. Click, 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 click.
We got to get going. Hold on.
My guess is Mr. Penske will probably never actually drive this car.
You don't think, huh?
He is 88 years old.
It's going to sit in the garage somewhere.
He's in good shape for a guy who's 88 years old. Still very active.
88 years old. Yeah.
But the other road car that they built is also, it's like in the photo. So it wasn't like that person kept that car either.
Yeah.
It's following it. He's like, hey. Just driving through town.
So that's the Porsche 963 RSP for Roger Cyril Penske.
Oh. No one's ever named a car after me. Just saying.
If you were a billionaire owner of a racing team,
you too could have a car made just for you.
I don't know. I enjoy the world of writing and making zero money. That's what I like. I love poverty.
Speaking of cars that are never going to get driven,
yes.
We've talked previously about Edmunds and their Fisker Ocean.
Yes.
They bought it in January of last year for just shy of $70,000 because that was the launch edition. That was the only version that was available at the time. Within like 4 months after they bought it, Fisker went bankrupt. Actually, when they first drove it for the first time, it already threw up a bunch of warning lights. They had all kinds of issues with this thing. It's been sitting basically parked for the last 6 months. They had it appraised, I think, in November or December of last year. At that time, it was appraised at $13,000. They finally got around to selling it recently, and they got $10,000 for it, which, frankly, I'm surprised anybody was willing to pay even $10,000 for this thing.
I'm telling you, $5,000's the magic number, because then you can just gut it for parts.
Well, and I'm guessing that's probably what's going to happen. Is somebody that owns another Ocean is probably going to use this one for parts.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be better off just gutting both of those and making a resto mod.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Wow.
The best part of it is the first paragraph that just lists the thousands, it feels like, of things that went wrong with this while they owned it. It's like, it literally has to be like over a dozen things in there. It's just
started
the
and
entire
wouldn't
first
shut
paragraph.
down.
It's just the one with the fob that died every 2 months, the one that wouldn't start, the one that would slam on the brakes, the one that the company went bankrupt, the one with through error codes the day we bought it. It's just this long list of everything that was wrong.
And then one time when the 12-volt battery died, they had to remove the front fascia in order to open the hood to get at the 12-volt battery so they could jumpstart it.
This is why stop making everything electronically powered. Just make mechanical doors that open and close, because if your battery dies, you're like, I can't get into my car now. Womp womp.
Gosh.
Stop being clever for the sake of being clever.
Yeah. Colors. we talk about colors frequently. We complain about
Colors.
I complain about boring colors.
I do too. I don't like boring colors either.
Like white and black and gray. Please stop. Buy cars with interesting colors. And
there is a
good for you.
There is a certain section of our audience right now that, like me, is hearing the Ice-T song "Colors" in their head. So please carry on. Colors.
So,
colors.
IC Cars did a study looking
this.
at vehicle depreciation by car color. And they found that of 12 colors that they looked at, the highest levels of depreciation were on colors that were painted black, white, or gold. The gold cars. So apparently, if you're going to get a non-monochromatic color, don't get gold.
Yeah, right.
Unless you're just planning to keep it forever, because their 3-year depreciation on that one was 34.4%. The cars with the lowest depreciation, yellow, orange, and green.
I wonder if that's the kind of cars that are generally bright yellow, bright orange, and bright green. They're not just a Camry, they're cars that are fun and sporty and people probably like them. And it's a fancy car to begin with, and there's demand for it because now you can get it used. And I wonder.
They found that, looking at, which vehicles had these colors, orange and green apparently are very popular with truck buyers.
Oh, orange and green?
Yeah,
really?
Both Ford and Toyota, having it on the Raptor and TRD trims, having colors like that. TRD, the TRD trims. So they, so when they broken down by segments, the for trucks, the orange trucks only depreciated 16% over 3 years.
Huh.
Red was actually, strangely enough, was actually the worst, 28.8%.
Yeah. What about SUVs? The most popular segment values unpopular colors.
Still orange and green.
Orange, green, yellow.
Yeah.
Where's gold?
Black.
Well, gold does a little bit better on SUVs. What about for sedans? Orange, yellow, beige. Oh,
yeah.
green does crummy
gold
on
is bad on sedans.
Gold is bad. Gold's never really great. Just stay away from gold.
Yeah.
Minivans.
So the moral of the story is buy an orange car.
Buy an orange car. Apparently.
They're so easy to find in the parking lot. I had an old orange Mustang GT in once for review, and it was awesome because I could park it right in the middle of the parking lot, and there's the car.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and for coupes, the yellow, orange, and blue were the best colors. 14.5%, 18.4%, and 19%.
I had a yellow car once. I had a yellow Beetle.
Did you?
I did.
Oh,
I love my little turbo Beetle. It was super fun. It was bright yellow.
The Turbonium, remember
that? The Turbonium, yes.
I had it. My first car was yellow. My Datsun 2000 was yellow.
Mine was red. My first car was red. The first car I bought, the first car I drove that was my hand-me-down was silver with a blue vinyl interior. Ugh.
Yeah, gold just feels cheap on a car.
What, gold?
Yeah. You ever see a gold car, after a year, you'll always just kind of feel it doesn't age.
It just feels like a grandma color. It feels like a color from the 70s or something. Nobody buys gold cars anymore unless you have, a super crazy expensive sports car that you put, gold on it as a special thing because you've just got money to burn.
It still looks
kind
gross.
Of gold.
It looks like you put a cover over your couch in your house.
So, speaking of bold colors, for 2026 model year, Ford is offering a new FX package on the Mustang. Apparently, an allusion back to the Fox body Mustangs of the 80s and early 90s.
That color. Oof.
That's that 80. I almost painted. Remember that 2000? The Datsun 2000. It was yellow. Yeah. I wanted it painted this color.
Oh, really?
Because it was the late 80s.
Because it was late 80s.
Teal. Everything was teal.
So it's a teal with some white accents on.
No, wait. It's not called teal. It's called Adriatic Blue Metallic. Just to be clear.
Yeah,
Adriatic Blue Metallic.
It's teal.
It's teal.
Yeah. And it's funny. They have a picture of it next to an early '90s Mustang Cobra, and
Yeah.
same body color, but there's really, other than the color, there is nothing else that kind of at least on the exterior, that harkens back to a Fox body.
Nope.
It's very
It
weird that
looks
they did it white. I feel like it should be silver or chrome.
For the wheels?
The wheels?
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
they white? Oh, they are
Yeah,
white.
they are white. That seems much later.
On the
that's the
interior,
look.
they do have these plaid inserts on the seats that are kind of like looks very similar to the fabric that I had on my 1991 5-liter LX. Had similar kind of upholstery in there.
Cool.
I like that. I like it when they do plaid
those
or
are
plaid
nice,
inserts. I
nice
just
touch.
think that looks cool. So that looks neat. I think I just see too much like of the 80s in the color, which I know they're going for, but it's too much of the 80s. Like I expect to see Don Johnson get out of this car or something. I just no.
Very Miami.
It's very Miami Vice. Something
Yeah.
I think it's the color, just Miami Vice, man.
All right. So that's the FX package for the 2026 Mustang. Also, rare earth magnets. We haven't talked about tariffs today, but China is taking a slightly more strategic approach to retaliating against the U.S. For its tariffs. Instead of just continuing to crank up the tariffs, they've said, "Yeah, we're not going to let you have any rare earth magnets."
That's bad because a lot of rare earth magnets come from China.
Yeah, most of them, the vast majority.
And it's in most cars except for like BMW EVs, magnets.
Yeah, well, even though BMW's EV motors don't have permanent magnets, they have permanent magnets all over the rest of the car for things like your electric power steering, your window actuators, your seat actuators. There's all kinds of permanent magnet motors in modern cars. So saying that you can't have magnets, that's a really bad thing. That really hurts the auto industry. And after initially they were saying we're going to put restrictions on exports of rare earth metals. And then they made some adjustments and they said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to restrict the export of rare earth metal materials for magnets. To get the export permits, you have to jump through all kinds of hoops and do all kinds of paperwork, and it's going to take you 6 months to get a permit to export this stuff. Or if you want to export finished components that already have rare earth magnets in them, we'll be happy to let you export those. But that means that, if you are importing those into the United States, they're at a much higher value level, which means you're going to pay much higher tariffs on that than you would if you were just bringing in the raw materials. So it's an interesting approach that China is taking on this.
They're going to bury you in bureaucracy.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Or make you pay
you know
a
what?
lot more.
I just bought a bunch of magnets for some 3D printed helmets I'm building so they clasp together using magnets. So if the automakers need some, they're really small. I don't know how helpful they'll be. But I
you
just
have enough
bought
to support the entire industry, you think?
Yeah, I think there's like 100 in each box, so I have 200 really tiny magnets.
That should take care of everybody.
I don't know, Ford, GM, Chrysler, just give me a call. I can hook you up with my 200 tiny magnets.
All right. Cadillac is adding another V Series model to the lineup this summer called the Optiq-V. We're recording this on Sunday. This is embargoed till Monday morning. So by the time you hear this episode, it will be, the news will be out there. But they have taken the same motors that they put in the Lyric V, and they put them in the Optiq-V, the smaller Optiq-V, and they've limited the power output because the Optiq has a smaller battery than what is in the Lyric. So it's 519 horsepower and 650 foot-pounds of torque. And the Optiq will be able to go 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds.
Why?
Why
mean,
not?
sure, I
Profit.
guess. I think, but like this is like again, like I said with ludicrous mode, this is a thing you do like twice. Like
Yeah.
once when you get it, once to impress a friend or make a friend vomit, whichever
Whatever
you're
you
looking
feel
to,
like in the mood of, whatever
whatever
you're
you feel
aiming
like
for.
doing, and then now you just have a vehicle that's incredibly overpowered to cruise around town.
But
It's
But
not
you can.
$59,000, which
oof.
means more profit margin for Cadillac.
Yeah, I guess there's that. So
Yeah.
if you're, I mean,
But
if they're
money.
like, hey, we're gonna make some money off this because people think they need an incredibly quick vehicle that's essentially just just a crossover.
Yeah.
Ah.
But it does. It will be available with Brembo 6-piston front calipers.
Thank God.
Adaptive damping is standard.
Thank God.
It's got new Continental Sport Contact 6 tires on there, and also really important. This is the first GM car announced, which will have a J3400 / NACS charging port on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You get your-
So they when we asked, they declined to say if the rest of the Optiq lineup will have the same charging port, but said this is the only one we're talking about today is the Optiq-V.
Can't comment on future product, but yes.
But realistically, I think all of the EVs that they build, at least the ones built at the Ramos plant in Mexico, will, which is the Blazer and the Equinox and the Prologue and the Optiq, they'll all, at least those will have the NACS port on there. You won't, they're not going to build them with two different ports.
Just completely non sequitur, but because you talked about brakes, I met a person who has a Datsun. I think it's the 620. So like, those early Datsun trucks. And they had put a K series, the K series from the Honda's K series engine into the truck. So now it's like incredibly powerful. Guess what they didn't upgrade?
The brakes.
The brakes.
Oops.
And I was just looking at it.
Still got little drum brakes in the back and little tiny discs in the front.
I was talking to the guy, and then another car. We were at the hardware store because, of course, that's where you see. And another guy came up, and we're like, "Oh, that's cool. Wait!" And then we both looked down, like, "Dude, he's not up to no, not yet." We're like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? You're
Courting
gonna die."
death. Courting death. That's what he's doing.
Well, I mean, if he's the one doing the build, and he knows what it's capable of, if he's driving it gently,
I hope so.
Hopefully, if he knows he needs to replace the brakes, it's just he hasn't gotten to it yet.
He was talking about an LS swap, which I was like, no, because first of all, it's heavier, but also, I mean, everyone does it. LS swaps, like, meh, at this point. Everyone does an LS
especially
swap.
for a small truck like that.
I know, just like you're throwing off all the weight, but also,
I mean, that thing, you put an LS in there, and that's probably just going to take as soon as you step on the gas, it's just going to twist the frame in half.
Oh yeah, it's going to snap your drive shaft.
Those old compact trucks, while they were small and light. Part of the reason why they were small and light, they just had these little C-channel frames that when you jack it up, and I know this because I had an '84 GMC S15, and the first time I got a flat tire, and I'm jacking it up, and I'm looking down along the side of the truck, and I see the bed and the angle between the bed and the cab is twisting. It's like, that's not good.
Yeah, they're yeah.
That's why modern trucks all have fully boxed frames.
Yeah, you gotta get
So
Anyway.
even though the Optiq-V will have the NACS port on there, it's still not going to charge any faster because that the battery pack, the 85 kilowatt hour battery pack they have, only has 285 or 288 volt
system
peak voltage on that battery. So it's going to peak at 150 kilowatts, same as the current Optiq and Equinox, and it's going to probably ramp down fairly quickly.
Yeah, you got to move 800. We got to move to 800 volt.
Yep.
Even if the charging infrastructure, well, the Tesla charging infrastructure isn't set for it. You kind of want to be, I don't know, future proof, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right, and the final story for this week. Actually, we'll get two things that Nicole did. One was on you wrote something for Top Speed on the AI revolution. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I actually had the opportunity to talk to the folks at Magna. I talked to this incredibly smart guy. Like sometimes you talk to people about like things and you're like, wow, this guy knows so much. He could like take it down a level for me. Like he was really, really intelligent. He's the product line manager and he had all this information about how they're using artificial intelligence and machine learning to work in future products to make you safer, and not necessarily like I'm going to drive your car for you. That's part of it. But it also talked about how you've seen some cars now have like a drowsy detection. They can see if you're like not entirely paying attention, but sort of that getting more refined and getting better and being able to track more data, to see your heart rate and your breathing rate in real time. And to do everything from, just alerting you or to vibrating the seat or to determining if you actually need help and need to, pull off the road. It can look at your pupils and see how much, like look at your eye pupils and see how tired you are, whether you're yawning. Like it's this really interesting level of detail that it can get on people. And it's not just the driver. Like they were saying, it's focused on the driver because of course that's the person who's controlling the car. And if you're drowsy or falling asleep or have a medical emergency, you're the one who's going to crash the car. But it can even look at passengers. It can even look at people. So it can look around you to see what's happening in your car, adjust everything, like the air quality to bring in fresh air if there's too much carbon dioxide in the cabin. So this idea of sort of protecting everybody, not necessarily driving your car, but using AI to protect everyone in the car, which I thought was kind of cool. Even like with the pet detection and the children detection, so you don't leave somebody behind in the car by accident. I thought it was a pretty fascinating idea, instead of just thinking about like as using AI to drive your car, but let you drive it, but using AI to make sure you're not doing stupid things or falling asleep or not well behind the wheel of your car.
I have
what?
Okay, I'm just gonna say, first of all, to add these additional sensors to check my pupils and it means money, and to pay for that, there's GM already got caught with selling data. The last thing I need to know is that my insurance carrier is getting data from my automaker from my car about something and saying, oh, you know what, we're not going to cover this because you have a history of blah blah blah, and we got all this information from your car.
Well, what they're saying is, I asked about the privacy concerns about this. Like everyone's concerned about privacy and what that would mean just in general, and who's going to have the data that you are driving impaired. And they're saying they're not storing any personal information, that everything's anonymous, that it's basically just using it. They're using real-time data to keep you safe and then just kind of letting it go. Like it's not being stored, it's not being saved, it's not being tracked anywhere other than sort of a real-time situation to make sure that you're being safe.
I mean,
there's like
that's what they're saying now. That's all.
Yes.
I've covered too many of these companies who like, oh, you know what, we're not going to do this with your data, and then like 6 months later they've updated the terms of service, and we all just say, oh yeah, sure, whatever, click on the terms of service, and now it turns out they're sharing like your sleeping habits, your how often, what you're doing with this, what you're doing with that. So I have I'm gonna be the person who's like,
you're gonna be the skeptic. Well,
I mean, it's fine that this is things they can do, but again, it costs money, and where are they going to get that money? And selling data, again, GM got in big trouble for it. It's not, yeah.
There's this, I'm trying to find it now. It's in there somewhere. There's a European standard for this, General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR.
Yeah, we don't have like proper privacy protection laws in the United States, though.
Yeah, we don't have the same thing, but it's something they have in Europe. So they're making their technology adhere to those standards right now.
Yeah. Well, and it would be great if we had something like that here. California has a privacy law, but it's not nearly as robust as the GDPR.
Yeah, GDPR is dope.
Yeah. But
yeah.
We're certainly, we're not going to get a federal privacy law anytime in the foreseeable future. At least not a good one.
Yeah, which is yeah.
Yeah, they have that. What is it? The California Consumer Privacy Act, I think it is.
Yeah,
is the thing they have in California, but that's California. Yeah.
It's just me. Sorry, you two. And even here, even with that, it's still not as nice as robust.
I
as
just
it could
see
be.
it's weird for me, the privacy. I mean, I'm concerned. I don't want everybody to have all my data, all my privacy, but I think long ago in my mind, I relinquished the minute the internet and your cell phone and all these things sort of became a thing. I feel like you relinquish a certain amount of your privacy. We all do. So it doesn't freak me out as much.
Yeah, I mean,
So you've
I
given up,
understand.
is what you're saying.
You've given up.
Not
I
that
think
I've given up.
I
It's
think
not given up. It just doesn't phase me anymore. Like I feel like there's an element of that you have so much online, you have so much data about you, you have so many details that are just out there between all the things that you do, the shopping that you do at a grocery store, when all the things
Everything
that
you
you
buy
do
at
in your,
Amazon.
like that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly like that. Like so much of what you do is tracked. So much of what you do is tracked and can be used either for you or against you, given the right scenario. That I feel like it's not that I've given up. It's just I sort of, I'm not freaked out by it. I just am not, I don't worry about it because I feel like if the data's out there, if they want to find things, if people want to find things that our companies want to use things, they're going to, and it just doesn't freak me out. And it just doesn't freak me
I have
out.
a 15-minute manifesto about that, just
Do you?
because I was again, I feel like I'm being a weirdo, but I was an
No,
infosec
you're not.
reporter.
It's a
I was
valid
an infosec
concern.
reporter for a while, and the things you learn, you're like, oh no, but that's a whole other podcast. Don't take pictures in front of your house. Don't take pictures of your children and share them online. Don't, there's a lot of rules that I have that you
don't do any of the things we do in modern life.
I was going to say you just have to not live modern life though to a certain point, right?
Here's the
pictures of your
thing: is
kids.
I'm very online. I'm probably more online than either of you. But people don't know what's going on in my life, the reality of it. It's like, oh, Robbie's in a band and Robbie drives cars. You don't know anything about me. People don't know where I live. I never talk about the town I live in. I never share pictures of in front of my house. I never share
But I
pictures.
feel like if someone really wanted to find out where you lived, Robbie, wouldn't they? I mean, you can figure that out. It's not as hard to figure out where people live, even when they're cagey about it.
I scrub things all the time.
Yeah.
It's a very, you have to, the fact that I have to be very proactive about this stuff is terrifying because we're proactive because we don't have proper privacy.
I mean, there are so many data brokers out there that have our information.
Like no one knows my birthday.
Yeah.
My birthday online is not my real birthday. I fundamentally changed my birthday because that's one of the ways that someone can steal your identity. People don't know my address. People don't know my birthday. It's a very, and again, the fact that I have to be proactive about this thing because I've seen people lose a lot because someone targeted them is ridiculous. Because again, we should have proper privacy, laws, but we don't, and then people can just pull that from everywhere.
One easy thing that everyone should do, if you haven't done it yet, do it right now. Is go freeze all your credit. Go to all the credit bureaus, and you can freeze your credit for free. And that means that no one can pull a credit report or apply or open an account if your credit is frozen. It makes it a little more of a pain in the ass if you want to open a new credit card or apply for a loan. Then you have to go in and unfreeze your credit temporarily. But then, immediately after you're done with the transaction, freeze your credit again so that people can't create accounts in your name.
Yeah. So good times.
Yeah. All right. That's it. The only other thing we have the last of our interviews from Toyota Palooza. Nicole and I sat down with Michael Tripp, who's the group vice president for Toyota Division Marketing. And Nicole, you also wrote a story for Top Speed.
I did. Yeah.
Is there anything from that you want to share before we say goodbye? And
no, I thought it was an interesting conversation when they talked about sort of the strategy. I feel like Toyota got a really bad rap because everyone's like, you're not doing all the things, you're not doing EVs, you're not doing this. And that kind of looks like it wasn't the stupidest idea in the world to not go all in on all EVs all the time. So it just talks a little bit about their strategy, which I thought was kind of neat. I thought it was justification for the path that they're following.
Yeah. Oh, and actually something else I just thought about with the Optiq-V, as much criticism as Toyota got for their EV strategy, one thing that they did really smart when they switched to the NACS charging port on the BZ is they moved it from the driver's side front fender to the passenger side so that you can reach the charging cables on a supercharger. Cadillac did not do that. They kept it where it was on the driver's side. So,
and they're updating chargers, but there's so many out there that you're parked in the wrong spot. You're parked all crooked. Yeah. You're parked all weird. You're just like, hey, Tesla people, hey, I'm going to take up 2 of your spots.
Sorry.
So I can plug in my F-150 or my other thing. Whoopsie.
All right. So we'll say goodbye for this week, and then you can listen to the conversation we had with Mike Tripp. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Mike Tripp.
Howard?
Good to see you, too. How are you?
No, good. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing your time with us.
No, look, it's funny. I said this to someone earlier. For us, I mean, I consider privilege. But the other thing is always cool for us. I love that you guys get to come see our home because, at times, Ed and I were just talking about this. I don't say you ever take it for granted, but, this is a fantastic place to work. And we have a really good team that we're all proud to be part of. And so when you get a chance to come here and see it beyond the product's obviously amazing. But
kind of important.
Yeah, really important. But I think, hopefully you guys get a chance to see and feel a little bit more of, our values beyond the product.
Okay, do you hear start off staring your title for me?
Sure, I'm Michael Tripp. My title is Group Vice President, Toyota Marketing, Toyota Motor North America.
Okay, so for marketing, so you're the one who's making all the consumers want to buy stuff.
I think great product and my team. Yeah, let's go there. Let's give that answer.
Okay, we were just having a conversation about how Toyota is master. There's a point where the EVs that you had were so-so. They weren't fabulous. Now you're trying to change that and also going a lot harder on the hybrids and the plug-in hybrids. For customers that you maybe lost because you didn't have a really good EV,
yes.
How do you communicate? Now we do have some good EVs.
Yeah, I think, first of all, it starts with generating awareness with the new EVs, the BZ, which is still one of our lowest awareness vehicles in our lineup. So with all three of the new EVs, we have to start with generating awareness and saying, hey, we do now have 3, and the BZ, as you know, is even better than the first generation because of all the improvements. So we'll start with awareness and then consideration. And when you look at that, our job at a tier 1 level, what drives awareness and consideration is showing that you're exciting, innovative, inspiring, good styling, and quality. So the good news is there's a lot of customers out there that have been waiting for Toyota to have an EV. Our brand is synonymous, certainly with hybrid, and also, with value, high quality, and efficient vehicles. So it's making sure that we get a chance to showcase these vehicles through the right channels and letting people know that we are now in the EV game with both feet. And we have 3 models. And so we'll start that with the BZ campaign that will go on air and obviously through digital channels in the fall. And then we'll complement that early next year when the other 2 vehicles come online and show it from a family standpoint of vehicles.
And so what with the new BZ, which I haven't driven yet, he did. I'm driving that after our conversation. Because it's not super well received initially. What do you think for that specific vehicle is the thing that you need to communicate to people to get them to say, this isn't the old BZ, this is the new BZ? What is it? What do you think it is that makes that better?
Yeah, I actually think the problem is not communicating the difference between the two, because while this is where low awareness on the first generation helps us, right? The vast majority of people in the United States.
You don't have to change. You don't have to overcome the messaging.
So if you look at the math, data drives all of our decisions. So the math is we have less than a 20% awareness of the BZ. Now, we were doing what we could to improve that. But as you can imagine, until you get the product power that we now have in the second generation, we're not going to go all in until we have the product power. So we're not driving consideration for something that may underdeliver. Now that we have this new vehicle, we can increase the amount of media attention we bring primarily through digital channels, target the right audience and say, hey, we have the BZ. So it's actually the challenge for us as a marketer has now become a little bit of an opportunity for us because we don't have to convince people this isn't the old BZ because there wasn't a huge awareness and not huge volume. Mm-hmm. Now that we have to drive more awareness and we have the product power to do it and we have more volume, then we'll handle it like we would with any other vehicle and make sure that we have the right training at the dealers and then the right marketing message in. And so you didn't ask me, but I'll answer. What's the marketing message? And so we're still in the ideation, right? We haven't started producing work, but we're playing with this idea of skeptics go electrical or skeptics go electric that we think has an interesting play. And so we're in the process of working on what we could produce around that creative idea and then bringing it to market with our agencies. And we're excited because we have product power and getting people excited about a new Toyota is not new to us. And now that we have 3 that are EVs, we're excited about the opportunity.
Do you think Toyota customers are largely skeptics? I mean, they buy into the hybrid thing because, like with the Prius, you guys are hybrid central, right? Like everyone's always thought of you with hybrids. Do you think they're more or less skeptical than the average person?
I think if you look at the idea of skeptics turn electric, right? And again, that may not be a consumer facing line. You start there. There's 2 ways we can play with the word skeptic. First, there's a general population that don't believe EVs are right for their lifestyle. And while we, as a multi-pathway approach, we believe EVs aren't right for everybody's lifestyle either, but there's a population that doesn't fully understand the EV lifestyle that we could tap into. Specific to Toyotas, we've done a great job of convincing our customers that hybrid is the solution. And it is, we believe, for most customers. But there is an opportunity with Toyota customers now that we have 3 Toyota EVs to convince them that, hey, yeah, hybrid and maybe electric is a second vehicle, or maybe electric is a replacement vehicle. And now that there's a Toyota or 3 Toyota models that you could purchase, we think there's an opportunity. So skeptic could be the wider population who don't fully understand EV, and Toyota makes it easy through EV, these 3. And then there's certainly Toyota customers that we think either replacing or adding to their Toyota fleet are customers for these vehicles.
And how does the plug-in hybrids, which are something that can cause confusion for people, they just don't get what it means, how do you work that into the product mix? Where does the plug-in hybrid sit in there?
I think from a messaging standpoint, one of the great things we've seen from Camry, and we've seen from Sienna, we see from Land Cruiser, and I'm confident we're going to see from RAV4, is once you only offer Prius is a good example, hybrid or plug-in hybrid, then really a lot of the decision can be down, it doesn't need to be your lead message. We don't have to lead with plug-in or hybrid as a lead message, but as you get further into the purchase process and you look at where we differentiate the vehicles in Toyota.com or what happens at the showroom floor, that's where the decision could be, hey, I want a hybrid or I want the plug-in hybrid. So based on the demand that we've had on plug-in hybrid, and now with RAV, we don't have to compete. Someone doesn't have to choose between an internal combustion engine, a hybrid, or a plug-in hybrid, then really the differentiation.
Do you want a plug or not?
Yeah. And that differentiation, Sam, happens as you get further into the buying process. It's not a lead message for us because, again, our lead message to drive awareness has to show our vehicles are exciting, innovative, inspiring, quality, and styling. And that's not because we think that makes sense. Those are the top 5 drivers of consideration in the automotive industry today in the United States. So by focusing on that as our lead message, and then when you get further into the buying process and the research that's done online, and hopefully the earned media that we're going to gather at events like this is when customers will understand, hey, is it a hybrid or is it a plug-in hybrid? And we don't have to, again, say, is it a hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or an internal combustion engine? So, and we've seen that with RAV historically, but also with Prius.
You've been selling plug-in hybrids for quite a few years now, more than a decade with Prius and what, 4 or 5 years now with RAV. Do you feel like your dealers understand plug-ins well enough at this point that they can help to guide customers to make the right choice for that customer?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about the knowledge, skills, and abilities of 1,240 different outlets, right, to say that everyone does or everyone doesn't would be either naive or arrogant, right? With that being said, our dealers and the knowledge of our dealers and our sales associates is good on plug-in or hybrid. I mean, the issue we've had, candidly, is we haven't been able to keep up with demand on plug-in. So the reality is, in order to determine, most customers are coming in already educated and want to plug it. Can I get it? Okay, I have to wait. Okay, I don't need one. I'm going to get a hybrid. So I don't believe today the difference on plug-in versus hybrid is a knowledge issue or the way it's being presented at dealers. The difference right now is we just have not been able to keep up with demand on plug-ins. And as a result, we're selling them as fast as we can make them. And obviously hybrid now makes up the rest of them. So, but continuing to make sure that we provide the education for our dealers, not only for the plug-in or the hybrid, but also in the EV spaces is something we're focused on, right? I'm less worried about the plug-in versus plug-in hybrid as I am about making sure that we can continue to understand and promote BEVs, because to your earlier question, right, we haven't really had BEVs to sell, and now we're expanding our lineup to include them. So I think our biggest knowledge and skill opportunity with our dealers is making sure that our dealer associates understand that EVs are more than just product, they're a lifestyle. And so what are all the pieces that you need from a charging infrastructure in order to support the EVs?
And continuing on the charging theme, one of the things that especially I think a lot of first-time EV owners get confused about is the charging is way more complicated than putting gas in your car.
Yeah.
Just because charging speeds can vary. It depends, what your initial state of charge is, what temperature is, which charger you're plugged into. And, again, with the education part, is that something that you're planning as you expand availability of both plug-in hybrids, but also BEVs? Are you planning to work with your dealers to help them better understand that so that they can educate the consumers so the consumers don't go away confused or come back to the dealership all confused? Why did my car charge so slow or not charge at all in a particular condition?
Yeah, expanding the understanding of what you need to live an EV lifestyle and then what the compromises are, I guess, by living this lifestyle and what the benefits are, right? So when it comes to our dealer education, especially in the EV space, what we've done, Sam, is first we expanded the number of facilitators that we have available to our region for region and dealer specific EV training. And we just had them all in here probably a month ago, where we're hired additional resources to help us from the in-person training. We've also created unique, we call them training in a box, but it's actually in a backpack where we have training materials that go out to all the regions so they can support in-dealership train beyond what we're going to do here. We started hosting what we call Toyota Talks here. We do them twice a month, where we actually, in our studio down here that you guys have seen, we actually host here for all dealers, any associate that's in the dealership around the country, and do half-hour sessions where we present to them, in this case, EV life, what to expect. And then we actually take live chat questions through those sessions. And then the other thing that we've invested in is what's called our Engage app. So we have an app that's also available on desktop, which is called Engage. And back when I used to call on dealers 25 years ago, we had the pocket source book, right? Where we took them around, here's the product knowledge, all this stuff. Well, obviously, the minute we printed those things, they were already obsolete. So now we have technology that we call Engage, where we push all of that content out so that it's available in the pocket of every sales associate. So if you have a question, you come in, not only can they pull up a resource that's sourced by us, so you know the accuracy is ours, but also they can show a video or talk to you about here's what to expect. And then all of this has been approved by legal, so they can push it to you. So we have a lot of different tools. And then also, we've been obviously invested significantly in increasing the education around EVs to make sure that the knowledge and skills at our dealers are where they need to be in order for customers to understand scenarios like the one you just presented.
Do you think that the customers that are coming in are, you were saying, they're making the decision between, they already know they're going to get a hybrid. They don't, that like the plug-in or not plug-in is just kind of happens during the sales process. Do you think they're going to be coming in looking for an EV? Do you think that's going to be a thing? They're going to come in EV, or do you think it's sort of when they get to the dealership, it's going to be like, oh, you have an EV. Maybe I should consider this.
I think if they're coming in and they don't know they want an EV or they aren't interested in EV, then I haven't done my job. Right? So hold me accountable. Obviously, from a marketing standpoint, we want to, and it'll take some time, but generate awareness and consideration through our marketing activities. And there's always going to be people that walk in. I think we're so close to it. What we all do in this room for a living is we're so close to the industry that we understand Toyota has 22 monos and used to be 14 and 3 new EVs. But if the average consumer has a vehicle that they're driving today that's been on the road for 12 years, and if the average term of ownership and how long they go through a buying process before they decide, then there's an opportunity for us through marketing to make sure that they're aware that we have EVs. But we have marketing campaigns in market today, tomorrow, the next day, and all of a sudden it's 6 months, 8 months, 10 months from now. I mean, we need to be always on through our right channels to make sure Toyota.com, to make sure we have digital media so that whenever someone's entering into the buying process, they're aware. It will take some time for us to get there. And as I said earlier, I don't think we have an issue about convincing current BZ owners that the new one's better. I think our opportunity is to make sure that we generate awareness, and it's going to take time. And I hope by the time most people walk into a dealership after we launch these vehicles, and honestly, the great earned media that we're getting this week will help. And I hope that Toyota has an EV, because I think there are a lot of people out there that have been waiting simply for Toyota to have a competitive EV, and now we have 3.
I have what I need. I've talked my question, found.
I guess more going back to hybrids and plug-ins. Do you I guess how big a market, or how big do you think the market for plug-in hybrids is going to be?
Oh, that's a great question, Sam. How big is the market for plug-in hybrids? I don't have a a great number off the top of my head. But what I think the way to talk through it a little bit is to say, why not? Like, if priced right, when you look at performance and capabilities of a plug-in hybrid, why wouldn't you get one, right? Because you get all the advantage, especially when you RAV of up to 50 miles of pure EV. You get, in many cases, more power, right? I mean, obviously that's the reason it's on the GR Sport, is because the torque is incredible on that, just like it was, as you know, on the RAV previously, right? And so I don't know how big the market is. I'm more concerned about how many we can make, right? Because I think if we can make them, I think customers, if they're available, would prefer that choice, because you get the advantage of the hybrid, you get the advantage of the electric, or the best of both worlds. And I've always said, if you look at our hybrid and plug-in hybrid, this has always been our bridge strategy towards zero emission vehicles. I mean, we, as you guys know, we took it on the chin a couple of years ago because people didn't think we were, committed to zero emission vehicles. Meanwhile, we had the Mirai and we had our first step with the first BZ. But it's not about our commitment. It's about the timeline on when the infrastructure and all consumers are going to be ready to live a lifestyle that comes with EV. But in the meantime, I don't think there's a better bridge strategy to get there that helps the environment and gives you what you want from a product standpoint than plug-in hybrid or hybrid. So I didn't answer your question because I really don't know. But when I think in my mind, why wouldn't you want to plug in? Again, price comes into it. Those are factors, but otherwise you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Well, I think, the thing that we talk about a lot on wheel bearings on our podcast is, if you're considering a plug-in hybrid, if there's an option of a hybrid or plug-in hybrid, the first thing to ask yourself is, do I have somewhere where I can plug it in?
Yeah. Great point.
Because that's a limiting factor. If you live in an apartment,
you don't need it.
Yeah. Don't waste your money on the plug-in.
Yeah.
If you're not going to plug it in every night, then just get the hybrid. It's a great vehicle, great alternative, because otherwise you're just dragging along 400 or 500 pounds of dead weight.
Yeah. And I like your answer better than mine, because the limiting factor is candidly it's the same limiting factor for EV, right? I mean, really, should I consider a plug-in or not is almost similar to should I consider a BEV or not. And then the question becomes, what's my normal usage? And then BEV or plug-in, right? Am I consistent, short mileage, daily, BEV? So I think that's, you asked us about training, and I was reluctant, but I'm going to bring it up because it's relevant for here. One of the things we're piloting and should be available by the end of this year is a little bit of an AI, or it's not a little bit, it's an AI virtual sales experience. So to these type of questions, and for our dealers.
So is that a consumer facing thing or
it's
for
dealer facing training, right?
Okay.
So where we're going to have an AI, and we're mocking it up now, but where you run through these scenarios. So just like you did with me, is tell me about your driving habits. Tell me about you. What do you have?
So does the AI play the part of the customer?
Yeah.
And then
And we
kind
can
of quizzing
role play. And role play. So just like we did, you're like, well, wait a minute. If I know how, I'm like, yeah, that's a great point. I mean, honestly, I just hadn't thought about the limitation, which in this case is the infrastructure, which is the same as BEVs. And so it's interesting because we went through that scenario. Yeah, we actually are working on, available in the fall. Again, just another tool, because I have a pretty good background in education, and the thing is, I often say somebody's knowledge, because someone has the knowledge, skills, and abilities, still doesn't mean they're deliver, because there's other factors that impact if I'm going to act in a way that I know and understand. Compensation. I may know how to do something, but if I'm compensated in a way that's contradictory to do that, then
I think you're incentivized to do something else.
Yeah. Right. So, and this is not unique to Toyota. This is any retail company, right? If someone may know everything about, pick a subject, BEVs or everywhere, but if there's a compensation model that says my behavior should take me to walk to an ICE or to a hybrid, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I think, what I'm excited about with our BEVs is not only that we're expanding our range, but we're now expanding in a way that gives our sales associates and our dealers more tools in their toolbox, more vehicles that perhaps they had to sell around because they didn't have them in the past. And now it comes down to knowledge, skills, and abilities and the compensation in order to make sure that they're delivering against that. But there will not be an absence of training and tools available. And then the question becomes, how do they apply them? And historically, our dealers have done a good job when we brought the right product and the right training. And if you look at when we launched Tundra, if you look at when we launched Prius, the original Prius launch back in 97, I was involved in. So
is there a lot of excitement from the dealers to have a robust EV offering?
There is. I think, what's interesting, I had a dealer that texted me. It's a great question. We were in DC doing some lobbying a couple weeks ago, and a dealer texted me and he said, you know what I love about Toyota? When you yin, they yang, or when they yang, you yin. And isn't it interesting that at the same time you have been telling a story about not everybody's ready for EVs, which is still true, right? And you've been telling a story about multi-pathway. Now you're bringing your best and even more BEVs so that we can be competitive. I mean, look, our job is to get customers in our marketplace what they need. And as their needs and desires expand, it's our job to be there. And now that EV at scale, we're seeing that. I think we still all question the pace of that and whether it's government driven or not. But the reality is we owe it to consumers in the marketplace when you're the number one retail brand to make sure you have options so you can be the number one retail brand in BEVs as well. And we're not there today. So yeah, okay. Work. So
Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you guys. It's good to see you guys. Yeah, thanks.
You want the best for your child. K-12 can help them gain the skills they need to reach their full potential while giving you the support you need to get them there. K-12 powered schools are tuition-free, accredited online public schools for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Their state-certified teachers make online learning interactive and engaging, allowing your child to learn at their pace from the safety of home. Join the more than 3 million families who have chosen K-12. Go to k12.com/podcast today to learn more. That's k12.com/podcast.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.